Good evening, everyone. This is R.A. Jake bringing you a special anniversary report. If it looks like I'm giving off some Walter Cronkite vibes, you'd be right. I don't know if you're aware of it, but we are now in the year of our Lord 2018. If we were to look back 50 years ago today, we would be looking at the most shocking, tumultuous, culturally crazy year in modern American history. A lot of you are probably thinking, R.A. Jake, you're tripping. No, young viewer, I'm not tripping. About 50 years ago this year, America was given some pretty fantastic clothing, a White Album by the Beatles, Don Draper and Peggy Olson, along with R.A. Jake's dream car and some amazing furniture. It also brought us all of this. My friends, let us take a journey back to 1968. Let's take some things into perspective. In 1968, America was in our third year of Vietnam. The draft was in full effect, which meant that any male over the age of 18 could be selected at any time to fight the Viet Cong, while parents at home were broadcasting numbers of fatalities on television every single night. This was the year that the Viet Cong actually bombed the U.S. Embassy in Saigon, signaling that the conflict was getting worse before it got better. Crime rates in our inner cities were at an all-time high, even here in B-Town. So the suburbs looked a lot like this, while places like New York looked a lot like this. Even though we passed the Civil Rights Act 4 years prior, there were still race riots in Mississippi, the Carolinas, and in Detroit that were riddled with violence and police brutality. In April of 1968, Martin Luther King was shot and killed in cold blood on the balcony outside of his hotel room. MLK's death launched a crusade of protests in Harlem, New York, which set the city ablaze for over 8 hours and killed 3 people. DC saw acres of its buildings being burned to the ground too, but those riots lasted for days. The U.S. submarine sank in the Pacific Ocean, releasing potent nuclear material in the seabed for the next 3 decades. There was no EPA in 1968, which means that our inner cities looked a lot like this, and our water looked a lot like this. In Chicago, many protested the war, but it looked nothing like the summer of love. Many broke windows, flipped cars, and like Harlem, burned neighborhoods to the ground. In San Francisco, the Zodiac Killer murdered a total of 4 people, a serial killer on the loose, sending letters to taunting police and local news. He said they would never catch him, and they never did. Just 5 years after his brother, President Kennedy, was shot and killed in Dallas, Robert Kennedy was shot and killed in a Los Angeles kitchen after giving a campaign speech for his bid for president in 1968. Some woman even tried to kill Andy Warhol in a studio in New York. 1968 was an election year against the so-called tough Richard Nixon and the Democratic Party nominee Hubert Humphrey. Nixon ultimately won, and during his campaign said he would return America to the greatness it once had, he would bring law and order back to this country, and demanded that the twisted media be less critical of his presidency, or else, quote, he would come after them too. You know what? I don't really know why that sounds so familiar. After Nixon won, protesters came to Washington, D.C. by the thousands, and although they were peaceful, armed National Guardsmen were given the go-ahead to shoot American citizens if, quote, they deemed it necessary for up to a week after Election Day. Russian and North Korean forces held 83 sailors on a U.S. Navy ship hostage for 11 months of that year. College campuses around the country were hotbeds for protests, where hippies waved signs and smoked grass. Students at Columbia even went so far as to forcefully remove every faculty member and shut down their school for 5 consecutive days. The economy was doing better than ever, but the middle class was shrinking. Fewer and fewer people were reaping its benefits as poverty began to spread. We were still testing nuclear weapons in Nevada. Charles Manson was on a murder spree in California too, supposedly killing in the name of Helter Skelter, an ideology he made up, named for the very famous Beatles song. 1968, many historians say, was the year for which many other problems that happened later were founded. Finally losing the Vietnam War, the rise of nuclear weapons in Asia, the Watergate scandal, secretive LSD trials, the groundwork for the King University shooting in 1970, even Patient Zero, that would eventually cause the AIDS crisis of the 1980s, was tracked down to, you guessed it, 1968. Listen to this. You know the hippies? They would grow up to become our grandparents, but back in 1968, when they were our age and in their early 20s, they were written about in the New York Times, the Atlantic, the Post, and pretty much every other newspaper out there that they were entitled, spoiled, taught by their parents that everything they said and thought was right. That they were lazy, they would never really amount to much of anything because they were a generation of, quote, self-absorbed idealists. But hey, I mean us millennials on our cell phones. We're the ones destroying the world. Alright, Jake, why are you telling us this? It's actually for a really positive reason. 1968 makes 2018 look relatively tame. And yeah, the world is looking increasingly scarier, and we appear to be divided on every issue. And social media doesn't make things much better. But if there's any indication to you that we are living at the end of days, look no further than 1968. We survived it then. We'll survive it now, just like we have the atrocities of every other decade, through peacetime or war, uncertainty or confidence. Someday we'll all prevail and create a country, and by extension, a world, that we can all agree is at least better than it was before. This has been a Resident Assistant broadcast. My name is Jacob Hyde, and from this news desk I wish you good night and good luck.